Attention! The National Weather Service has issued a hurricane warning for the entirety of the National Hockey League. Please stay tuned for further information from the Storm Cellar.
Welcome back to the Storm Cellar. Brad and Ray are with you after the northwest part of our road trip, right? The NC State Fair / Hurricanes annual road trip to start the season. And since our last broadcast, the Canes go 5-0, Ray. They took it to, top teams, right?
Yeah.
Edmonton, who's currently bad, but everybody expects to win the cup. The Flames, who were undefeated in regulation. The Kraken, who have been playing well. Vancouver and the Canes. Vancouver always gives us a hard time, especially when they have last change. And then you come home and you just put a whooping on the Bees on Halloween night while I'm in Boston trick-or-treating in a Canes uniform, which was the piece de resistance. Loved it.
Oh, that must have been a blast. Yeah, you know what? And Brad, I said this before. You'll recall last season when they came to Western Canada, I was in Bahamas and they stunk, and I sent word to the team, to Don Waddell and Brenda Moore. I said, guys, I'm sorry. I'm in Bahamas, and it's my fault. It's my fault so I took all of the blame with the team. Thankfully, the front office said it was all good. Just don't ever leave Canada when we're coming through again. Never again.
It's only like 2 weeks a year, Ray. My gosh.
Exactly. Man. Come on now.
How selfish.
And so I stayed and was in attendance for the Flames game. And I have to tell you, we come through winning all 5. You're welcome, Hurricanes.
Yeah. And the Flames game, that game could have easily gone, it could have been a lot worse for the Flames. It could have, but I never felt like Carolina was going to lose that game personally. I was like, no, they got this. Like, this is even early. No, this is fine. Not a problem.
Yeah.
The Edmonton game, obviously, like Edmonton comes back, gets things tied up. Yeah. And we got to talk about overtime today, because the Canes overtime squad is just lethal to the point of it's almost unfair. They're that good at 3-on-3. If there was a 3-on-3 league, Carolina would be undefeated, right?
Great shape. And it's funny, play-by-play crews all very quizzical at the start, because really we've started out with Stahl taking the face off with a couple of defenders, Burnsy and Slavin out there with them to start. And they're all going, they're putting 2 defensemen out there? That's peculiar. You know what I mean? And it's all part of the plan. Stahl wins the draw. We take the buck to our end. We make the changes. It's Natchez and Aho. And what more do you need? You just get out there and they just finish it up. Natchez, we've been hard on him at times, but there's one thing you just cannot deny. And that is his ability in overtime when there's plenty of ice. There's plenty of space. You remove all of that traffic, and a man with that speed and that kind of release, it just, recipe for success. There's no other way to describe it. It's amazing.
I feel like he and Rod have gotten to a point in this season, and we've said this before, like we both are like, he has potential. He needs to realize that potential.
Yeah.
I was surprised he came back, because I thought it was just too much animosity. It wasn't going to work, but it seems to all be behind them. And not to take anything away from Natchez, who is just absolutely on fire with a 1.67 points per game right now.
Lovely.
15 points in 9 games. I feel like the Jackson Blake Spinner-Rama Deke would have been a goal of the year contender had it gone in. I feel like Rod is starting to understand that his system needs a little salt, right? You ever cook
Yeah.
and the
Oh
food
yeah,
tastes
I
kind of
cook a
bland, and
lot.
you either going to add a little salt or add a little acid, right?
Yep.
I mean, or if you're cooking a big steak, you want it to be restaurant quality, right? You add like a whole stick of butter, right? It
Yeah.
needed
Oh yeah,
something.
you
And
got to get in
Rod
on that.
seems to understand now that and seems to be making room for that kind of creativity because we're seeing more of it this year from not just Natchez who needs it, but Jackson Blake definitely, the comparisons to Jeff Skinner, who won a Calder as a rookie in Carolina, are not out of place. I
No.
mean, Blake's fifth in points as a rookie already, and he's second in goals. So I want to give Rod Brindamore at least, a shout out that I think he's figuring out a way to make his system hard forechecking gives you opportunities, but there is a place for creativity. And Natchez so far has been taking full advantage of that. I mean,
Oh
if we
yeah.
get a whole season of Natchez out of this, that would be unbelievable. It also might make him hard to resign to a longer contract because he's only on a 2-year deal. But either way, I mean, and if he's happy here and things feel good in the locker room, right, and he feels like he's getting the space and he's getting what he needs,
Yeah.
everything's coming at Millhouse, right?
It is. It absolutely is. And I'm just loving how, you know, and we're going to talk about this later, but it was again a reminder to everyone that um yes, we lost some very talented players, some players that fans love, fan favorites, lost a
Mm-hmm.
few of them, and the people that we've added are fitting in beautifully. And more than that, it's, I mean, Rod is, uh, Rod put out a lineup with the lines that looked a little different. Okay. I
Mm-hmm.
was a way I wasn't really expecting at times. Like, did anyone at the beginning of the preseason and during those games see Roslovic playing on the top line with Aho and Svechnikov? Like, I don't think anyone saw that. I don't think anyone saw, Robertson with KK and Natchez, and KK is playing fantastic. Let's point that out, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I
So
mean, he's. I was gonna say he's doing everything but scoring, but now he got a goal. So
exactly. So loving that. And then we all defaulted to, Stahl, Martinook, Carrier, and that's the way it's been some of the times. But Jarvis has dropped into that spot, which we already know is a proven way to play it.
mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And then the fourth line is magnificent. Jackson Blake, Drury, there's a connection there. You know what I mean? Like there's
Yeah, I
something
mean,
there.
for all the Rod Blendamore talk, Roslovic was just a killer against us last year.
Oh, no kidding.
And I didn't know when he first got moved to the first line. I'm like, well, we haven't seen anything from him this year that I thought would warrant it, but that's why I'm not an NHL head coach.
Yeah.
But Rod understands, like, I kind of was making fun of with a meme the other day of the Ricky Bobby thing. Like, I want to go fast. Like, he gets like Roslovic's speed is part of what makes him great. And by
Yeah.
putting him on that top line, you're giving him an opportunity to get out there and get open and move things around. Bumping Jarvis down, even though he's a fan favorite, because the way we use our lines, that kid is high energy. And as good as the Carrier is on that line, the line
Hmm.
looks better with Jarvis because they have upside, like offensive upside of potential, right?
And
And then just real quick,
yeah,
Robinson, I've heard some people still being critical of Robinson, like I don't know why he's here, fourth line, blah blah blah. I thought Robinson has looked really good as a Hurricane.
yeah,
I've been really happy with him. He is 10th on the team in points with Orlov. He's a point behind Blake. He's only 2 behind Roslovic, who has no assists, which
yeah.
quite
He's
frankly,
just,
I'm happy about.
I love that too.
I'm all for it. But Robinson he's also a +6.
Yeah.
And anytime I see somebody who's like, well, like, I hated, to see Nazen go. But if this is what we're gonna get out of Robinson, because he and Blake early on in the season could have easily connected on 4 or 5 goals. I mean,
Oh,
they
yes.
were in sync. The passes in general have been much, much better than last year, which might be the biggest difference at the start of the year. Do you remember last year when passes were
Yeah.
just never tape to tape? It was
No.
always in somebody's skates or just out of somebody's reach. And then to your point, fan favorites are fan favorites. Like,
Yeah.
love Brett Pesci, love his dad, right?
No question.
Love Nazen, love Brady Shea,
And
but
Turbo, my gosh.
Turbo hurts. So does
Yeah.
Nazen, honestly. Only because I expected both Pesci and Shea to be gone. Pretty sure that's where I drew the line last year. I'm like, no, I think both of them are going to be on because of their contracts. Like, they're going to get better offers, right?
Yeah.
Don Waddell leaving, and I said this at the time, and we have it on the recording. I
Yeah.
said he picked the right time, right? This was supposed to be a down year. He can move
Yep.
on, do another job, and he's doing like a fifth as much work in Columbus because he doesn't. The Canes have hired 4 people to replace him,
Yeah.
so that this would be Eric Tulsky's team, and Eric and Darren,
Oh.
phenomenal offseason so far. I mean, if things continue close to this level, I mean, the Capitals and the Hurricanes, in terms of, points percentage, are
Yep.
among the league leaders. I mean, there's nobody in the league other than like Winnipeg and Minnesota
Yeah.
league wide who have a higher win percentage than you. And the Capitals are tied with you, but I'm not sold on the Capitals. They're much, much improved, but
They
I'm still not
look
sure.
really good right off the hop. Now,
Yeah.
their schedule, I think they've beaten the Canadians twice. Oh my gosh, I said it. How is
It's
that?
easier when they're
That's kind
losing.
of weird. Well, true enough, right? Um, but they've won the games that they've needed to, and I think that's the situation for
Yeah.
every team. If you have the better team on paper, you should be winning the games, and
Mm-hmm.
that's really, if you take care of those, you're going to find yourself in the playoffs.
Right.
So just sweeping through the Northwest, the one of the other things that I noticed is that it not only has everyone bought into the system, okay, which has been very difficult for some. Not only have they bought in, but they're executing it perfectly. And they're doing it for a full 60. Like teams, the opposition's going to push back. And there's always that ebb and flow, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where, you've got the momentum and then, something big happens, you give it back, blah, blah, blah. Those sort of things happen all the time. But what I've noticed is that even on the moments where they've given up a goal, they're quick to respond. Like Rod says, okay, we've given up a goal there. Boom. We're going to throw out that third line, gain momentum again for another long shift in the offensive zone. And now we've got it right back. They've had those quick answers. Like, just let's example the Bruins game, right? The penalties, 2 5-on-3s for the Bruins, and one of those penalties coming from the bench by Rod, and it looked like I was like, oh my gosh, here we go. Where it's 5-on-7 out there right now, right? And the bees have the refs. Um, Rod took that penalty, and it turned out that that was the best penalty of the game, even though it put the Canes in a 5-on-3 situation where they were down. It was the best penalty taken because, and the officials in the NHL will tell you, they do not do make goods, but there is no way you could look at the rest of that game from that point on and not say that the Bruins, they got some soft calls against them,
Yeah.
which
Unless you're Tim Peel. that they do not do make goods.
Yeah, well, exactly. Good call. Good call. So,
Yeah,
I
and
mean, and they go out there and Marchand had scored the 5-on-3 goal. They kill off the second 5-on-3, which was really important. That second 5-on-3,
mhm.
they killed it off. And then they score 3 goals in 50 seconds.
What's funny to me, Ray, is so listeners, if you imagine I'm in Boston, hurricane sweater, trick or treat
Yeah.
with my kid, and his friends, and Ray is sending me Facebook messages to keep me apprised of the game. So it's like, oh, 1-0. I'm like, awesome, cool, rock on, feeling good, right?
Yep.
The people who see me still friendly. Then it's 1-1. All right, cool. Everybody around me still friendly.
Yeah.
And then my phone is just like in my pocket, just vibrating. Bzz, bzz. I'm like, oh my gosh, like is there something wrong? And it's like goal. Oh, and the goal, and the goal. And people,
was
like nobody was really booing me, but like definitely like people later on were like, oh, Hurricanes fan.
it certainly changes the mood a
It was
little
wicked
bit.
funny. So, but you're right. It's so I got to watch the Nested broadcast.
Me
If
too.
that's that's probably the best way to put it. Later that night, right? Was able to
Yeah.
go back, see the whole game. And you're right. And no, even with the 5-on-3, with the way that they've been playing, I wasn't overly concerned. I'm like, okay, 5-on-3,
Yeah.
you might give up a goal. You're not going to give up two. Then it's kind of back to back. You're like, oh, okay. On this 5-on-3, they can kill this off. I'm not that worried about it. And that's not a feeling I've had for a couple of years now. Last year was a lot more tense, especially early in the season.
No question.
And I just didn't have that. And then, I mean, you had Svechnikov and Roslovic both on Hattie watches
Oh,
with a whole period to go. Sean Walker gets his first, which is great because that guy has been all hustle. Glad to see him get one. I think he ended up getting the old game hat there from Rod Brindamore, which didn't fit.
he
I think
did.
he said he had to give him a bigger one. And then KK finally nets one,
How about
and
that goal?
super excited for him because I've said before, the further we get away from that whole third overall pick and just go, well, who is he really as a player?
Yeah.
We're starting to see if he can just kind of relax. Like he's hit 3 or 4 posts at least this year. If he can just kind of
Yep.
relax, the kid is playing really well. I mean, I couldn't be happier. He is, oh gosh, he is 6th on the team in points with 7.
Yeah.
I mean, that's only 2 behind Aho, right? And he's a +4 to Aho's -1. Like, no offense to Aho, but
No,
so
yeah.
he's at almost a .8, points per game clip. And he's doing the defensive work. His face-offs
Yeah.
are, I think he won 48-5 so far overall,
Yep.
which isn't ideal, but I mean,
You know what? In
he's
that
right there.
48-5, he's winning them at the right times.
This
I'll
is
say
true.
that.
He's winning the defensive ones more often than not, for sure. And
Yes.
that's the bigger part of that. Same thing with Jordan Stahl, who I think is only at 50 or 52%. Same
A
thing.
little
Like
low for him, but they're winning the right
right,
ones.
right. And it's early, right? I think he is still in the process. It sounded like he was one of the guys who really worked hard in the offseason. Not worried
Mm,
about him. I heard from, I think it was Walt Ruff was on the Surge cast talking about Jackson Blake, just speaking of people working hard. And it sounds
yeah.
like Blake put on like 10 or 15 pounds of muscle over the summer.
Woo,
And that's a lot, even for a
it
person who's,
is.
I mean, even if that's kind of your job, that's your daily, like that's a lot. So the kid is putting in the work and it's coming through. I mean, we have 4 point per game players, Ray. I couldn't tell you the last time, maybe Kane Stats brand knows, but I couldn't tell you the last time we had 4 point per game players after, almost 10
Nice.
games, right?
Yeah,
Nate
you're
just
right.
Svechnikov, Gosses Bear, and Aho. You have Seth Jarvis at 0.89 and you have KK at 0.78. I mean, you have, several guys who could have personal best seasons, which would be phenomenal.
This was funny. When everyone in the league, experts and guys like us in the podcasts are talking, everyone wondered where are the points going to come from. And you and I had both said, if there is going to be success, never more than before or were we going to need points up and down the lineup. And no, we're not. We don't have guys that are, top of the league in points, but we have a lot of players that are scoring, a lot of players that are making contributions.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's pulling on the rope in the same direction, and it is awesome. I love watching this.
We have one player without a point so far this year.
And that's crazy.
Which is nuts. And it's Jalen Chatfield, who is not known as a point getter. Like when he gets points, fantastic. He's the only person without a point.
He got robbed in the Boston game. he had a great chance, and Sway got over just in time.
Mm-hmm. We only have 3 guys with negative plus minuses, which is not the end all be all stat, but just to point it out, Svechnikov, Aho, and Jarvis are -1.
Yep.
Nate is +6, Ghost +3, then down the line +4, +3, +5, +6, +4, +4, +3. Everybody's out there contributing. Everybody is keeping the funny stat I heard the other day, and I'll goof it up. I think it was Kane Stats brand. They have scored. They both scored and given up half as many goals as this time last year, which is good for the Canes. That's what the Canes want. We don't want those big shootouts where we're having to rely on the goaltenders, right?
Yeah.
Our defense is what needs to shut things down. And when we do that right, there are lower scoring games. 4-2, 3-2, 2-1s, those kind of things. That's where Carolina should want to play on their forecheck. And the forecheck has been so good that during almost every game of that road trip, for long stretches, we were entirely in the offensive zone. The other team is line changing because of, pucks out at center ice. They get 2 or 3 guys off. And then the puck is in their zone for, 90 seconds and they got to change. There is no counter to that, right? During some of those games.
And the Hurricanes forecheck has always been known as relentless. Even more so now. I don't even know how to describe it or if it's fair. It feels even more so now, where they're just that much more dominant. And you brought up a beautiful segue talking about the goaltending, because we've been getting good goaltending thrown in with all of that. How about Freddie? I mean, look, we'll talk about the elephant in the room on that. But Brad, lay out the numbers. You were always a numbers guy. And let's remind the people that hate on Freddie relentlessly, who are Hurricanes fans, let's remind them of what he's capable of.
Yeah, so Frederik Andersen has the best goals against in the league at 1.48. And he's number 2 in save percentage at 941. Obviously, he's hurt. Sounds like it's probably groin again. It's going to be a couple of weeks, right? Spencer Martin is up. The Canes just signed a new goalie, or a veteran AHL, NHL guy to mine the net down in Chicago. The sticking point with Freddie, for me, has always been injury.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons I've been screaming from the rafters, you need to give Kochetkov more reps, because when he flew out of the crease, and I know it ended up not costing the Hurricanes the game, but when he flew out of the crease, I said, "Oh my God, this is Reimer and Mrazek again."
Yeah,
he's gonna get plowed through, and he's gonna get hurt, and then what are we gonna do, right? It ended up going in kind of by chance. The puck kind of ended up on Vancouver's stick and went in, right? But the more games Piotr has, right, the more experience he has to pull from, the more likely I don't want to take that brash confidence away from him, because that's what makes him a good goalie. But I'd like for him the next time to be like, okay, that's out past the dots. I see Chatfield's there. He's one of the quickest guys on the team. I need to trust my teammate, right? I don't want to change the way Kochetkov thinks and plays, but I do want him to maybe take an extra second and get a good view of the landscape, because I could see on TV, I'm like, oh no, Chatfield's there, he's gonna catch him, it's fine, Chatfield's way faster, not a problem. And then I see Piotr out, I'm like, oh, please get there first and please don't get hurt.
Yeah.
So the
And
kid
what's
needs a little, like, I would just real quick, I would like to say they've been going back and forth a game apiece, which is kind of fine. I would like to see, Piotr, like when there's days off, Piotr get the
Mhm.
extra start, right? If there's 2 or 3 days rest, so maybe start him in two
Yeah.
for every one that Anderson starts. A, to keep Anderson healthy, two, to get Piotr the experience. And then if you need to go back to 1-1, you can at any time, right? Because I don't see them re-signing Anderson next year
No,
with
I don't
all the
either.
injury history and the money he's going to command. I can't see that. So unless you will have cap space, but unless you're going to go out and buy a goaltender on the open market, which is not in the Hurricanes' way, Piotr's your number one next year.
Yeah.
So let's get him the reps he needs to make the right decision every time, and don't take away his aggressiveness. But I do want to see in those kind of rare situations, or I know you want to poke check, but don't poke check because they might be expecting them, right? So he just needs a little more seasoning.
Brad, it's like you reached into my brain and pulled out the one thing that I was thinking about with Piotr. Um, I don't want to take away his brashness. There's a confidence built in there that allows him to do his thing. But when you look at that Vancouver game and where he got beat on that game tying goal or whatever because he wandered out, in that game previous to that point, he had stopped no less than 3 breakaway chances
Right?
from point blank. And further to that, I think he poke checks so much that other teams, they're watching the tape. Okay. So your forwards are going to see, okay, the kid's in. He loves to poke check. Keep that in mind when you're coming in. You know what I mean? Prepare for that.
Right.
And he's doing it so often now that it's part of the tape where you just say, Chetkov loves to poke check. He loves to throw his stick out there or not hold on to it at all. Now, frankly, he's better holding on to it this year with his poke check rather than,
So far, yeah.
last season. But that's the thing. Like he just you're right. He needs the experience and just ease off. Don't poke check so often. You pull that out of the bag of tricks every now and again. Rely on your abilities because he's great. I mean,
Yeah,
he's
it's like
really great.
it's training a puppy, right? So at
Yeah.
first you feed them every time they do the right thing, but then you don't have to do that
Yeah.
because what'll happen is they're going to start expecting the poke check, so they're going to hold on to the puck longer,
Yep.
and then when they realize he's not poke checking, you know, time and space have now collapsed to a point where they're probably on top of him, and all he has to do is probably get down in the butterfly,
Be
get
large.
in the way, be
Yeah.
large, and no danger. But and that was the other thing about him coming so far out is I saw the same thing. I'm like, you've stopped 2 or 3 breakaways.
Yeah.
Oh, like not kind of like you were on top of it. You're playing really well.
Yep.
Trust yourself that all right, well, he's gonna get the puck and I'm gonna stop it and kick it to the boards and it's not gonna be an issue. But it's
Yeah.
it's a learning experience. I wasn't upset about it. I just was like, oh, I'd prefer he not do that. And the risk of injury is high. I mean, we saw
It
what happened
is.
to Mrazek. I mean, he got railroaded and it became a wonderful story. But
Sure.
if
That
people
doesn't happen
remember,
all
we
the
were
time.
fighting for because that was a March game, I think, and we were fighting for
It
a playoff
was.
spot. And as
February
were I
game.
think the Leafs, February game, as were the Leafs. And that
Yeah.
could have been a disaster. That could have gone down. That could have been a Steve Dangle winning, not funny video at all. That could have been
Yeah.
a 10-3 or whatever it was, just drumming of the Canes.
Yep.
And the only reason we don't remember that way is because everything turned out fine. So
Yeah,
the Vancouver,
exactly.
the Vancouver, we gave up the game time goal. The reason I don't think anybody's that upset about it is it didn't cost us, right? It's
Aho
a
was
point.
there.
Yeah, it's a point against a Western Conference opponent. We don't really care about that point. So
Brad,
the kid,
just
the
as
kid, the kid does need to grow up some, but he's still young. I'm not too worried about it. I know some fans are worried that he'll be the number one. I have confidence in the kid. I do think we need a solid backup looking at next year, but I fully trust Tulski. If they have another offseason like they have this year,
oh
no
man.
worries. And they're going to have a lot of money to play with.
Yes, they will. And Brad, very quickly, just on the Vancouver game, Fishy gets the game winner, and someone in the storm cellar refers to Aho as Francis 2.0.
That would be you, sir.
And Fishy is now tied with the franchise for most game-winning goals as a Hurricane.
57.
Amazing, right?
That's a lot of game winners.
And Rod himself has been quoted saying basically Sebastian Aho is going to own every offensive record. By the time his career is done, he's going to own them all. That's inevitable. But for him to come up, and it makes me feel good that I don't think that I'm completely, you know, braggadocious about him or propping him up too far.
Sure.
Francis is a Hall of Famer, right?
Right.
So when you put them in the same sentence, it's got to be real. It can't just be pure fandom, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at him being tied for game-winning goals, I think that says enough, right? Like he's definitely in that point. We talked about Jackson Blake earlier. Man, the kid, he's impressive. And you know what it is, right, Brad? It's he's got the hockey smarts. I think he sees the game moving slower than others. Like where you know what I mean? Like the game is just slower for him and what he can do. And it's so impressive to see like those points. It was amazing. I didn't think it was his goal, which was all he's got two of the three goals that he has. He's got 3 goals, 2 assists. Two of those are game winners, by the way.
Yeah.
So he's already chasing Aho, right? Like he's already like, hey, move over. I can score the game winners, the important goals too. How about Gossespierre, right? The guy that I mean, the power play is so much better with him at the point. Now, they do still sometimes fall into the we'll kill this penalty for you guys with the puck swinging around the outside. But he has made some beautiful passes, and his shot is, I mean, we've said it before. It makes you want to weep how beautiful that shot is, right?
He has a quick release. I mean, with some heat on it too, right?
Yep.
When Ghost left, I was disappointed. I was hoping he'd stay, right?
Yep.
He went, and I don't know why I had the feeling. I was worried that he might not have liked it here for whatever reason, or contracts, like the fact we didn't offer up a ton of money to pay him.
Yeah.
So I've said before, I was super excited when he had nothing but good things to say about Carolina in the offseason. Then he signs. I'm like, the Ghost is back. And when he first got here, he played well, but he wasn't putting up the play. I don't know that he ever hit expectations overall, other than maybe having one of the coolest names on the team.
Yeah.
But almost like Orlov started out last year. Like it didn't fit at first. Right. But now with a full training camp and everything, you can see how well he fits into the system.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, defensively, it's always been a potential knock, right? Most offensive-minded defensemen are that way. Like, they're okay on defense. He's been fine. I don't have any major qualms about his game at all.
And having a partner like Walker, right? Like Walker keys into that as well. Like, yes, they're playing less minutes, but how much less minutes are they playing really? Because coaching can just tap them on the shoulder, say, you're up. And is there any reason to fear? No.
Right.
I mean, it's all there.
Walker, I believe, he has the lowest TOI of all the defensemen at 16-19. But Chatfield and Ghost are like 18 and change. I mean, Orlov's at 19. I mean, Burns and Slavin are at 21. It's not, I mean, now it's 5 minutes, but how much of that is power play time for Ghost?
Exactly. Yeah.
Three minutes a game plus. I mean,
and so effective. Like honestly,
and he's a plus
just
4 at
yeah. So
16
it's not.
TOI. I mean,
Yeah.
who cares? Like that's yeah. Ghost has been. I'm gonna do my own like he who shall not be named. Ghost is playing the way that people think our last power play quarterback was, except for Ghost
Yes.
is good at defense. Sorry, it's how it's
Yeah.
true.
Better at defense,
Better,
no
yes.
question. But he's putting up the numbers.
And the power play, they're moving, and I think part of that, we haven't added coaches, right? Like we
Yeah.
said, I think RB's loosened up the reins a little bit to get a little more creativity. But part of that is there was a goal, I think it was the Bruins game, and Ghost got, pass comes back to Ghost, and you can see the defender move into cover, expecting the pass
Yeah.
or the pass, and Ghost rifles one. And you're like, oh, didn't expect. I mean, and that's what you need from a power play. It's about either trying to create a 2-on-1 or the unpredictability of when is the shot coming, how hard, where, use the screens. And Ghost does all those things really well. So I'm very excited for that. I also think that as long as these guys are playing as well as they are, particularly guys like Ghost and Walker as the third pair,
Mm-hmm.
you can take some of that pressure off Burns. Like not having Burns need to be out there on a power play is a huge bonus as far as I'm concerned, because
Yeah.
he's gotten to be really predictable, I think, where if it's coming to him, there's a 50-50 chance he's just going to throw in a booming shot. And that's how he gets his points, right? Some of them slip through, a lot of dirty rebounds, greasy goals, which I love to see. Andre had one against the Bruins.
Yeah.
But you don't have to rely on that, because Ghost is actually out there moving chess pieces around and getting things set. And you're getting, I mean, we've seen, how many wide open nets have we seen? I mean, wide
Oof.
open nets. Svetch has missed one. Blake has missed one. Aho, I think, missed one. KK missed one since the beginning.
Jarvis in the Boston game had a wide open net and wasn't even looking to shoot. Like,
Right. It's like,
like
why did
honestly,
you pass that?
it was on the power play. He's got the puck. He throws it out to Ghost. Ghost fires it right back to him, and in the process, Sway loses his footing, right? And now the net's wide open,
Mm-hmm.
and Jarvis not even looking. He throws it right back to Ghost. I'm like, dude,
Yeah, it's
the goal was there, right? And it's
right.
like that's the thing. Like I think Ghost is even surprising some of his teammates
Mm-hmm.
because of the opportunities that he's providing. You know what I mean? Uh,
It's not stagnant and it's not predictable.
yeah.
And
And
that's harder to defend.
having Spetch in front, he's so big, he's strong, and we're getting deflection goals
Mm-hmm.
from in front of the net. Who knew,
Amazing.
right?
Who'd have thought?
And then he had a beautiful shot. Sway makes this unbelievable save, but the puck's not covered. Poke. There's another one
And
because
Svetch
no
has
one can
gotten
take him
back.
out.
Yeah, Svetch has gotten back to being the quintessential power forward that I fell in love with. I mean, he's got 10 points. He's second on the team in points, which if you've been watching the games,
It's
I say a
quiet.
lot that we do quiet, sneaky, like Aho's always there sneakily. Svetch is sneaky. He's got 4 goals, thanks to those 2 in the Bruins game, and
Yep.
6 assists. But he's in the right place to get those kind of goals, and that's what he should be. He's taking the shots, he's making space, he's a big body in front of a goaltender. I mean, this is as well as the team has played in a long time.
It
And I thought
is.
they played pretty good last year once they got moving, like the second half of the season.
Yep.
Playoffs were rough, right? The Islander series, it was fun to go down to the island and see it, but live. But I mean, not
Tough.
our best hockey, right?
No, it wasn't. No, it
And
wasn't.
then the Rags, like not our best hockey. This is some of the best hockey we've seen. If you watch the last 4 or 5 Hurricanes game and you're not entertained, Hockey is not the
What are you
sport for you.
watching? Yeah.
Yeah, hockey. Don't watch hockey. I don't know what you want.
I can't even tell you how often the opposing broadcasting team have been lauding the amazing work that honestly in the Oiler game, um, it sounded like they were Hurricane broadcast team. So much respect. And they were like, this was the most entertaining game they had seen all year. It was tight. Even though they lost, they were happy. Like they were like, let's have this every dang night, you
Right.
know? And and you're right, it was so entertaining, up and down, taking their chances, ebb and flow. And they had nothing but respect, right? Like that's the thing. When you're watching this team and they work so hard, they
Mm-hmm.
don't take a night off. That warms my heart as an old fart who always look at work ethic, right? No, just do not take a night off. You'll have my support always if you do not take a night off. Some of my favorite players, the best thing about them is they work and they work hard.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like they realize how much money they're getting to play a game, and it's like they're always trying to prove themselves,
Right.
prove that they belong there. And they do all the time. This is amazing. A fifth ranked power play,
Mm-hmm. Not bad.
seventh, seventh on
At
the
least it looks like
PK.
a fifth-rate power play. Like last
It,
year, it was pretty high. The year before, but it didn't look like it. Right.
yeah,
This year, it looks like it should be the fifth-rate power play.
yeah. And how the penalty kill, those numbers are coming up.
Yeah, you
Like,
throw out the first two games, and it's way above 85. It's closer to 90.
yeah, yeah. It's so, man, we love this team, right?
We do. I mean, it's real quick because we got, I don't know, we got 10 or 15, 20 minutes.
Sure.
And I want us to each pick a couple of players. Instead of doing the storm report, let's each take a couple of players and, you know, give your 30 seconds on why, right? Whomever it might be. I'll start
Sure.
just because I
Go
want to
ahead.
throw some folks out there, right? Jack Roslovic, who we've spoken about a little bit
Oh,
already today, has his speed fits in so well with that top line that
mhm.
he's given us more than I expected. And even if he were to cool down, I feel like he is a prototypical winger for Aho because he's also
Yeah.
smart, right? And you know, he's got a body. He doesn't mind mixing things up a little bit if he needs to. He can get puck in the corners. It's I've been really impressed by him. More
He,
so than I thought I would be. Expectations were okay. Let's see, but I really can't say anything bad about his game so far.
he finds empty spaces on the ice. And most of those times when he's found that empty space, it's in front of the net, like A plus plus scoring opportunities. And with a release like that,
Anyone looking to shoot first on this team is good by me.
it absolutely is. It absolutely is. And here's the thing, he started out on the line with KK and Natchez. And I looked at that and I'll be honest, I peed a little bit because I thought with that much speed on the wings, holy cow,
Mm-hmm.
right? But it didn't connect as well. And I don't know what it was. It wasn't overwhelming. And
Mm-hmm.
when Rod decided to flip things up and put him on the top line with a playmaker like Aho and a power forward who can make some space for that speedster. I mean, hey now, we found something. and it's great. They match up together so well. And he's
Mm-hmm.
so quick. I mean, he's in defenders' brains, right? When they're all crossing the blue line, I guarantee you those defenders are saying that guy is moving way too fast. I've got to suddenly now they have to compensate, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you're having to compensate for people being beat or out of position, that's when scoring opportunities happen. And you see it, you see the results, you know, it's marvelous.
It's been
That's
a
a
lot of
great
fun, man.
pick. That's,
Do you have somebody maybe that
uh, you
deserves a
know,
little kudos?
if I'm, if I'm looking to give props to someone, I want to, I want to throw out, there's a couple of players, but I've been one of the most critical people of him as far as podcasts go. But you got to give Natchez, you got to give him his flowers, and a lot of them. Put everything of the preseason and the off season aside. Forget what his dad was saying and all of the rest of that. Put all that mess behind you. He's playing a 200-foot game. And does he still do the spinoramas and turn? Yeah, you know what? He does them every now and again, not as often. And he's working so hard and he looks so good on that number one power play. He's had a lot of great opportunities and he's shooting properly and he's doing everything that you and I, when he was being criticized a long, long time ago. It's funny how this all goes. You and I defended Natchez at the start for a long time because we saw the innate talent that he had, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then there came a point where you and I both kind of said, enough's enough. Like you have to get it
Grow up.
together. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And so it's been kind of a roller coaster. We were very defensive. Then we got down to the end. It's like, you know what? He would be a great trade opportunity, right? We
I
said it.
still stand by that. He would have been.
He would have been at that time. And then now we turn around and after such a tumultuous offseason, you get him now and see what he's doing. He legit, if he can keep this up, if he can keep this mindset in his head, heck, if he just wants to play for the next contract, you know what I mean? If he wants to be selfish or whatever like that and just put up the points to let people know I deserve a boatload of money after this bridge contract, so be it. He has the ability to be the 100-point guy
He does.
that we all expected Aho to be,
Mm-hmm.
looking into this season. So Natchez, I've got to give him the credit. Like I said, I've been critical in the past, but when he displays his ability and does it the right way,
That's the kicker. Like I like the like watching Jackson Blake spinorama double deke.
oh
He missed what for a second was a wide open net. I like watching Nate just do that. I always have. My
yeah,
problem was when he did. I've said before, he does all that and then he just turns the puck over.
yeah,
But this year he seems to be doing it with not to do it. Like he's got a plan.
yeah,
He it's like instead of before it's like, okay, I'm just gonna spinorama this guy, you spinorama, and now you're like, okay, now what do I do? And the game is moving too fast. And this year it's like, okay, I'm gonna spinorama this guy, I'm gonna juke left, and then see who's open to pass to. And he's doing those things, right? We're not just like flipping the puck over to the other team by doing that or drop passes to nobody that we all know I do not like. I've been very impressed. And as somebody who has been very critical of him, just because I thought like mentally, like you've got to get over this hump. You've got to mature. You've got to start progressing. It feels like he's there. And once again, I think, if Rod Brind'Amour will give him the space to grow, hopefully we'll continue to see him grow. So
Yeah. He's taken some big hits in the defensive zone too,
True.
and and handled it well. Like a lot of the opposition will say, you hit Natchez hard enough, he'll disappear in the game. And that may have been in the past. He's taken some big hits and then been down at the other end to score the goals.
Maybe he plays better with a chip on his shoulder. Some guys do.
Yeah, you know
And
what?
maybe with the
Maybe, hey?
contract and everything, maybe he's I'm going to show everybody what I can really do. And if that's what it takes to motivate him, I'm great.
Yeah,
Right.
good
Um,
call.
I, I'd like to give another one real quick.
Sure.
Jack Drury,
Oh man.
fourth line center. He's got a goal and 2 assists, 3 points. He's a +4. He's winning 56% of his draws. He is playing in position. He much like KK, he was so snake bitten the first month,
Yeah,
right? He
yeah,
missed at least 3 or 4 like wide open nets. Like Jack, you went to Harvard, dude. Like they use regulation nets at Harvard, right, bro?
yeah.
Like my goodness, how did you miss that? But again, a lower line guy coming in, working hard, doesn't complain, gives it to you every shift. I have been really, always been high on Jack. I think originally we thought maybe this is like a 2C, and then last year's okay, maybe his ceiling's more 3C, 4C, which is fine.
Yeah,
But the way that Rod uses his fourth line, I think, is just really smart, and it's given them an opportunity. And those guys, I mean, they've been getting some goals, they've been putting some points on the board, and I feel like that they're so close to taking it to the next level. And Jack drives a lot of that by being in the
yeah.
right place to dish the puck. So just wanted to give a quick shout out to Jack Jury, who we haven't really mentioned today. I think he's been, playing really well so far this year.
And if I had another one, just to do it real quick, I'll say Dimitri.
Oh yeah.
Orlov's making me really happy. He's working his arse off. The shot, uh, it sounds louder than the Columbus Blue Jacket cannon. When they score a goal, you know how loud that is, right? When
Yeah, I
he
mean, it sounds like on TV.
when he puts a clapper on, like it's just kaboom. And it's on net. I mean, it's on net. It's giving guys a chance to do those tips. I mean, could you imagine being Sway when Jackson touches the puck out to the front of the net and it's about 6, 7 feet out, and you have Orlov bearing down on you and then unleashes everything on that shot? How it didn't go through the net and the boards behind it, I'll never know. Like the strength of the twine must be out of this world because he hammered it. Now, you know, Blake got his stick on there somehow, but it was unbelievable. Orlov has been playing smart defensively too. Like that's the other thing. He's not pinching when he shouldn't. He's picking his pinches properly. Ooh, I love alliteration when it happens naturally. Um, it he just sensational. So I know I wasn't going to go on very long. I did anyway because I'm verbose. But you've got to give the man his props, or Dmitry
I
Orlov.
I
Wow.
think that's a great one. I know Orlov has now gone on record saying he's not going to the KHL next year. He wants to stay in North America and play. I don't think he'll be back with the Canes because the contract size. I don't think
Yeah.
that's the fit with Scott Morrow waiting in the wings. But I agree. I think the best thing I could say about Orlov, maybe, I hope this comes off as a compliment. Last year, things weren't working. Early in the season, we kept hearing locker room, guys not buying in.
Yeah.
And one of my worries was, I think it might be Orlov because he's not playing well.
Yeah.
And then Bunting gets moved out. A lot of that talk dries up. Whether or not it was really Bunting was an issue or not, I don't know. But,
Yeah.
coming from Toronto, maybe he's too big for his britches. I don't know. And I don't want to say that was definitely him. But the way that Orlov has come out this year and has worked in the offseason and put together, I don't think it was. I don't think it was him. Not that doesn't mean it was necessarily anybody specifically else. But this is what you get when a team buys in, right?
Exactly.
Like this is what you could have had last year if everybody's on the same page. Because if you look up and down this roster, you have, 20 guys and they're all pulling on the rope, right? Together.
Yep.
A good friend of mine, he is one of the is a rowing coach for Northeastern. And he's like,
wow.
It's great if if you're running crew, but if everybody's pulling in the same direction, but not at the same time, you're not going anywhere. Not fast. Right. Everybody needs to be pulling in the same direction together as a unit.
Yeah.
If we're going to win races. And right now you're seeing a Hurricanes team that is working as a unit. So
winning races.
Last thing, winning races. Let's keep it up. Two quick things. I just want to look ahead. Forbes, I think it was, came out. Team evaluations in terms of financial, what they're worth. The Hurricanes topped the $1 billion mark. They were 27th out of the 32 teams, ahead of both Winnipeg and Ottawa, two Canadian franchises, which I don't know if they figured in Canadian dollars versus American, and I don't know but assuming it was a level playing field, that is huge for your Hurricanes. Tom Dundon has made a fortune since buying the team.
Yeah.
I think it's like a 60-something% increase, which he ended up paying more for the team than what he initially bought in for. So he's made, he's made quite a bit of bank owning the Hurricanes, and that's before the development project that started. So not to toot Tom's horn, because I'd be fine in a world without billionaires myself, but it shows what a winning culture year in and year out can do, how quickly the value and the valuation of this franchise has gone up.
Yeah.
So kudos to the Hurricane staff, generally speaking, the coaches, the team, the front office, everybody, because without everyone working together as a unit, that doesn't happen. And I think that's huge that the Hurricanes are 27th out of 32 teams, including over a couple of Canadian teams and franchises that are older than you, right? It's not just noobs. That being said, tomorrow, 5:00 matinee, you take on the Capitals, with whom you are currently tied in the Metro. So I think Washington, it might be a little bit of a poser. I guess we're going to find out tomorrow.
Yeah.
Then every other day for 6 games. So you have Philly on Tuesday not playing well.
No,
near the bottom of the East.
Pittsburgh is terrible on
Pittsburgh,
Thursday.
OT Selly, right? Ryan on Twitter, who's a big Penguins fan, he jumped on the Canes bandwagon. It seems like a super nice guy. He always says, oh no, it's another Penguins game day. Feel bad for the guy, but maybe he'll hop on the Hurricanes wagon here, because the Penguins do not look good.
There's always room.
And then you have a little mini West Coast roadie, right? Like a baby roadie. Colorado, Vegas, and your first trip to Utah.
Wow.
So
this is a tough lineup. There's going to be some good games here.
Go ahead, Ray.
The Caps, they're playing lights out. I think, and I know you see this game as a let's find out. I think that you consider them legit until they prove otherwise. And what they've been doing so far is legit. They're getting performances and from a lot of great players. Tom Wilson, I despise him, but he's not being a knucklehead. You know what I mean?
He's actually turned into a hockey player.
Yeah, he is a very good hockey player when he's not being a knucklehead.
Mm-hmm.
OV is scoring goals. He's chasing Gretzky.
He's
right?
engaged. Yeah.
He's full on. So that's a tough game tomorrow. The Caniacs are going to have to bring the noise, right? You're there for the game, fuel up, and then let's light the Caps up. I'd love to see it. Philly, Torts teams don't. I mean, they may not perform great, but they always work. You know what I mean? Like they're
Yeah.
they're always tough. So that one's there. Pittsburgh, they got to get their goaltending figured out. Um, that's a tough one. They'll
Mm-hmm.
want, they'll want some retribution against us for the
Philly and
last win.
Penguins, those are both trap games.
They are
Both of them. You got
absolutely.
back-to-back trap games at home.
And then
Don't fall for it. You need to put both of those teams away regardless of what happens tomorrow.
yep. And then you got to jump on a plane and fly up Mile High, which is always an issue. Colorado is a tough team at home. And
Mm-hmm.
they started out terribly, but they've turned that ship 180. Like they're going back in the right direction again. So, and I know Bailey from the Surge Cast, who incidentally is a beat writer for the Avalanche.
Yeah,
Congratulations to
congrats to
her. We're
Bailey.
throwing that out to her. She's going to be, I mean, I wonder if she's asked for the day off on that one so
Oh,
that
I
she
don't think
doesn't
so.
have to put the Hurricanes stuff behind her to focus on the job at hand. I mean, she's tough. She'll be able to handle it, but I wouldn't blame her if she took the night off to cheer for the Canes. You know what? I wouldn't hold any less respect for her. I think she's amazing.
True that.
So yeah, this is a tough week. And yet throwing in Vegas, who is great, and then
Mm-hmm.
Utah. Um,
Who is playing? Okay,
yeah,
they're not
they're
bad.
all right. They're all right. They can't be ignored. This is a tough schedule coming up. And I
Mm-hmm.
guess then we get a chance to see if the Hurricanes are legit. That a
Right.
lot of people, the experts and pundits will all say, well, they should have been taking a step back. And if they don't perform very well on this one, they'll all say, look how right we are as they break, their arms trying to pat themselves on the back to say,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, the Hurricanes are not who we think they are. That's a load of ball. We're in good shape and they're going to keep seeing it. Caniacs unite. Be there tomorrow for that big game.
4 games before we, in theory, record again. Ray, how many points?
You know, I think 6.
I was also going to say 6.
I
I don't
think
know why. I
6.
feel like they're all going to. I don't think there's going to be any overtime. I think they're going to drop one of these, and I don't know which one.
Yeah. If I were to pick one that they end up dropping, I think it would be I think it would be the Avs just because they leave Thursday night and then they've got to go into that barn with those conditions. That's a tough win
It
against a guy
is.
like McKinnon. Like he's
I
McKinnon.
I think we're going to drop one of the 2 trap games because they said on the broadcast Rod Brindamore is the winningest coach all time on the road. 658, I think, win percentage over Don Cherry,
Ooh, amazing.
which I hope makes Don Cherry, hope that irritates him.
I hope it
So
does too.
I agree with you. And then I keep coming back to 658. That's pretty good. That's pretty darn good. It's considered it's the
Yeah.
best. So I don't know why. I have a feeling one of those 2 trap games, or we're gonna at least tie all the games and we're gonna drop 2 OTLs somewhere, but
Yeah,
somewhere
yeah,
we're
yeah.
getting 6 out of 8. 6 out of 8, I think, is marvelous. If you end up getting 4 out of 8, I think that's fine. It doesn't really hurt you, but you at least want to clean up on, Washington. I mean, that's really your only competition in terms of playoff standings, and we're only a tenth of the way through the season, right?
Yeah.
A little
And
over
the
9
Hurricanes
games
have
at 8,
looked
but
Hurricanes have looked great against the Metro,
yep.
right? Like Metro
And
games,
New Jersey's only winning because they played like 5 more games than you, and they're only 2 points ahead.
I know. Isn't that amazing? So we're on to something here. I love it. Uh, Brad, this has been a great episode. I've really wanted to break this down, and I want to tease something very quick.
Tease away.
All you Caniacs, our listeners who take the time to jump into the storm cellar, mark November 24th on your calendar. That's all you get from us. I'm just throwing that out there. November 24th. Mark it on your calendar. Okay? We'll leave it at that.
All
there
right.
really is only one other thing to say at this point, and that's go Canes.
Go Canes.
Thank you everyone for tuning in. Ray and I greatly appreciate your support in helping us produce an informative and fun podcast. As always, we'd like to say that we believe hockey is for everyone. Whether you're a Caniac or a bunch of jerks, doesn't matter, as we're just a couple of jerks anyway. We would love to hear your questions, comments, and suggestions. We would do our best to answer anything hockey related. You can reach us via email at stormcellar97@gmail.com. On Twitter, we are at stormcellar97, and on Facebook at facebook.com/stormcellar97.